You're listening to On Trial with Judge Jamie and Bailiff B, putting your entertainment news on the bench every Friday.
Hello, and welcome to a very special podcasted episode of On Trial. Last week, we had a chance to talk with Paul Travers and Evan Greenhill, the creators of the newly released horror film Old 37, starring Kane Hodder and Bill Moseley, about two brothers who pretend to be paramedics to torture helpless victims. Here's what they had to say.
What was the inspiration behind this storyline? You guys are both you're a writer and a producer. So how did this idea come up? It's such a unique storyline.
Well, yeah, I mean, it came up from a nightmare that I had one night, like 10 years ago.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I think I drank too much caffeine before bed. I'm not sure about that. I just had a dream where these two guys, I woke up in a car accident. The driver of the car was gone. This guy pulls me out of the car in a daze, and he brings me to the back of this white box truck. And there's another guy grinding up the driver of my car in a meat grinder in the back of it.
Wow, that's so gruesome.
They try locking me in there. I run away, and then I wake up, and I was like, "What? That's a great idea for a movie. Ambulance driving murderers."
Right, definitely. Especially too, like with paramedics, that's like the point in any movie, especially horror movies, where you're like, okay, they're finally safe. But here, not so much. It's like, as soon as you think that you're safe, you're not.
Just the beginning.
Right.
That's where the trouble begins, yeah.
So for me, that's kind of how it like diverges from other slasher films, because slasher films, they follow this very like systematic formula set up by Halloween. Did you pull any inspiration from older slasher films, or were you just initially like, we're going to totally redo it with our paramedic idea?
I personally definitely wrote the movie as like I was a huge fan of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and slashers like that. Of course, Nightmare on Elm Street is like definitely a little different than the average Halloween Friday the 13th slasher.
Right.
But we loved all those. Evan loved all those. We got Evan to come on board to help us produce because he loved the idea. He was, Evan.
Yeah.
So are there going to be any of those, cliche like horror shots then that everyone loves?
Like what? Which kind?
I'm thinking of, the looking in the mirror and someone's behind them. Well, I mean, you guys might not have a mirror, or like
no, we don't have that.
Any of the the victim tries to run and hide and they always get caught because they hide in a terrible spot.
There really isn't too much of that. There's not too many cliches, which is, I guess, a good thing.
It is.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
It is a good thing because I'm always looking for a new twist on horror films, and this one definitely seems to have it.
Especially with all like the parodies of slasher films out right now, like Cabin in the Woods, and I mean MTV is doing a new version of Scream and all that stuff. So it's like really refreshing to have something that kind of subverts that. The final girl cliche.
And you guys, this is your first horror movie, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
Were you guys just drawn to the genre because you watched all these films growing up, or is it just like you got inspired to do it? What drew you to the horror movie genre?
I mean, I personally have been, kind of obsessed with horror movies ever since I was a little kid through no explanation that I can name, but I've always been totally into like the 80s slasher flicks, and it's just so funny because like there's such a built-in audience base for it, and you always wonder why are people so crazy obsessed with horror films and people running around and killing other people? But there's something that can't be explained. You just kind of you're just drawn to something like that. You just find it so entertaining or scary or just like comical. But either way, it's just so much fun to watch movies like that and know that it's just a movie. It's just for fun,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's thrilling too. You're like, please don't kill him. Please don't kill him.
Right.
Or, you're rooting for someone. Yeah. Or do kill him. Or you're rooting for the villain or the.
That's what happens in this movie a lot. A lot of people, you just end up sympathizing for the villain, because there's a lot of backstory about the killers.
Right.
Oh, wow.
This movie is if this is a killer lovers movie, like this movie is for people that love the killer.
Like
people, we're hoping people will want to be this killer, you know, for Halloween or whatever, or in life.
Like the anti-hero, right?
Exactly.
Oh, I love those so much. I love the concept. I also love the fact that they're brothers. You know, it's not just one of them, it's two of them.
Right. And
stuff like that, which is kind of cool. Like you'll see flashbacks of them as kids, like, and you'll see like the evolution of how they turn into the brothers, you know, and the killers that they become.
Right. That'll be, me and B have not seen the movie yet, but we're going to see it on Sunday.
Awesome.
At your premiere at the Music Box. So
I'm just getting more and more excited.
We're very excited.
Yeah.
We'll be looking for the backstory to that. I know you guys were just talking about horror films and watching them. Do you guys have a favorite?
Like an all-time favorite horror film?
I mean, without a doubt, my all-time favorite is Nightmare on Elm Street. I've been obsessed with that series since I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely been in the top of my favorite horror films.
I mean, I have to agree. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street or Jaws, to me, are like the tops.
Oh, yeah.
You
That
guys,
and Saw.
Oh, yeah.
I also love the Saw.
oh, you like Saw. That makes sense.
Oh,
That's a classic slasher film.
Yeah, a new classic.
Yeah. The new classic, not the old classic.
Not gonna lie, Nightmare on Elm Street still gives me nightmares, which is ironic that it gives me nightmares, but
terrifying.
yeah, it is so scary.
You guys also got to work with some actors and actresses, maybe not as much as like the director, but I'm assuming that you got to meet some of the actors and actresses who've been in movies like Hatchet and Seven and Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. How was that? Like when you were writing for the film, were you envisioning these people?
Yeah, I mean, when I was writing The Killers, I definitely was writing one of them for Kane Hodder. In my head, he was always that.
Wow.
and,
Yeah.
And then when I had met him at a horror convention and I told him about the movie, and he was like, "That's a really great idea. I'd like to be a part of that." And you know, we kept in touch, and he'd check in about every 6 months and be like, "Are we doing this movie or what?"
And then you got it together, which is awesome.
We got it together. I basically got it together out of fear that Kane was going to be mad at me.
It's so
That's not
interesting.
something you want.
That's not what you want. No. And then did you guys have like a process or anything? Was there any difficult parts about making this movie? How did you go about it?
I mean, definitely the biggest. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go. Go ahead. For sure.
I was just gonna say, like, definitely the biggest struggle, of course, was like getting all like the financing together. Like when I first joined the production team, I'm thinking like, okay, we're gonna make this movie. The money will just kind of come from somewhere, and then we'll make the movie. And then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, okay, it's a little bit harder to like get the budget together and find investors and stuff who believe in the film and want to support it. So that was definitely a struggle getting that process together, for sure.
Scheduling the money, and then because you kind of have to go, it's like you have to have a chicken and an egg at the same time. So it's like you have to kind of move forward, even though you don't have all the money, just for like, because you're like going against the clock of winter and
Right.
the New Year and the holidays. And
You obviously wanted it out before Halloween.
Right.
yeah, it was just super
Yeah, for
tricky
sure.
getting
Yeah.
all the scheduling and the scheduling of the actors and all that. That's pretty much the toughest part.
Well, you guys did it. Congratulations.
Somehow.
We did, thank you.
You got through all the difficult parts.
I know you said it was like an issue of financing and stuff. Like how did you get it to a place, because it seems like very high quality filming and it's all on the indie track and stuff. Like what was the process of getting it financed and getting it to a place where it's such high quality?
Well, we really lucked out with our DP. Like our DP, our cinematographer, he had like the amazing equipment set up. He had the amazing Red Epic, the lenses, and like he just has an eye for like good photography, the lighting. I mean, that's really what it is. You get good actors, you do the casting right, and you get a great cinematographer, and you can have a pretty great looking movie regardless of what happens.
Right. So you guys just
Yeah, that's definitely what we drew our attention to, was the high quality of the cinematography was definitely at the top of our list in terms of what we were going to prioritize when it came to actually shooting the movie.
Yeah. I think that you guys landed the jackpot then. Good actors, good cinematography.
Yeah, like how long did you guys work on it? You said years.
Yeah, a lot of
Literally years. I mean, for Paul, I think it's been almost the better, like a part of a decade, and for me, it's been like maybe 6 years or so. from start to finish.
Wow. Yeah. You never think about because Hollywood seems to just push out movies every 5 seconds, that you never think about how long it actually takes to make a movie. So that's impressive, to have the motivation to stick on one project for 10 years.
Right.
Yeah, it's perseverance at its best.
Yeah.
So thanks so much for tuning in today. I'm going to let you guys get on with your busy lives. I'm sure you've got a lot to do. We really appreciate you guys tuning in. For all of you listeners, all that time put into one movie, it's got to be good, guys. It's got to be good.
It totally is.
And thanks so much, you guys, again, for coming on air with us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Old 37 is out on VOD now. I'm Bailiff B.
I'm Judge Jamie, and